Okay, let's review what you should have known for your test yesterday. Your Midwest region.
North Dakota,
South Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas, Minnesota, Iowa, Missouri,
No rhythm.
Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Michigan,
But not that fast so that people can't understand what you're saying.
Iowa, South Dakota, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Wisconsin, Kansas, North Dakota, Minnesota, Ohio,
This one's Iowa, this one's Ohio.
Wisconsin, Indiana, Nebraska.
Alright, we got them all that time. Alright, let's start with Harriet Tubman. We've already talked about her a little bit before, but today we're going to actually start reading about Harriet Tubman. Alright, so on page 232, that's where we should be. I should have waited to start the video till everybody was there. 232, 232. Alright, we there now? Okay. A baby is born. By the way, notice the date, circa 1820. That C means circa, which means about 1820. So being a slave, they did not have accurate records of people's birth years, okay, or birth dates. So they think she was born about 1820, but they do know for sure she died in 1913. A baby is born in a small cabin on a farm in Maryland. So that's the state. Harriet and Ben Ross held their new baby. They named her Araminta. So her real name is not Harriet. Her real name is Araminta, and nicknamed her Minty. During this time, some people in the southern states owned slaves. Since Harriet and Ben were slaves, Araminta was a slave too. So her parents were slaves, so the moment she was born, she was a slave. And as soon as she was old enough, they put her to work. Araminta's mother loved her very much. She taught her how to sew, cook, and weave at a young age. She taught her how to care for the sick. She hoped Araminta would be given an indoor job instead of having to work in the fields. Most importantly, Araminta's mother taught her about God and told her many stories from the Bible. Her favorite story was about Moses, who led the children of Israel out of slavery in Egypt. Little did Araminta's mother know that one day her little girl would lead many slaves to freedom, just like Moses. All right, before I start reading again, let's go back and go down to the bottom and do the important words and important names. So first one is Underground Railroad, a series of houses or other places where escaped slaves were helped on the way to freedom in the North. Like Louisa May Alcott's home became a home or a stop on the Underground Railroad. Next one, Emancipation Proclamation, an order signed by Abraham Lincoln stating all slaves in the southern states should be freed. All right, so this is a law basically that Abraham Lincoln signed saying that nobody could own slaves anymore. So this is after the Civil War. Or during the Civil War is when he wrote the Emancipation Proclamation. And then last of all, Harriet Tubman, a former slave who led many other slaves to freedom on the Underground Railroad. All right, life as a slave. Araminta's life was not easy. Even as a little girl, she had hard jobs. Whatever her master told her to do, she had to do it. Sometimes she had to be away from home. She took care of babies, loaded wood, plowed fields, and caught muskrats in ponds and streams. She was punished if she did not do a job exactly right, even if she tried her best. But she was a hard worker and became a very strong girl. One day, Araminta learned that most people in the northern states did not own slaves. They believed slavery was wrong. They thought every person should be free. Someday, she promised herself, I will leave Maryland, go north, and be free. As Araminta grew older, she changed her name to Harriet, like her mother. Harriet met a freed slave named John Tubman, and turn the page, and they were married. So that's how she became Harriet Tubman. Even though John was free, Harriet was still a slave. She had to work wherever she was told to work. Her owner could even sell her to someone else who might live far away. When Harriet Tubman heard that she and her brothers might be sold, she decided that it was time to escape to the north. Escape. Mrs. Tubman met a kind Quaker lady. They became friends. She was glad that Quakers did not believe in slavery. Harriet, her friend, said one day, "If you want to escape, I will help you." Late one night, Harriet Tubman quietly gathered a few of her things and headed to her Quaker friend's house. The lady gave her directions and told her where to stop for food and rest along the Underground Railroad. "Keep quiet and keep moving," her friend said. "Wade in the water when you can so you do not leave a trail." Mrs. Tubman listened carefully, and then she started her journey. The Underground Railroad was not really a railroad. It was a series of homes or other places on the way to freedom. People who wanted to help slaves find their freedom agreed to hide and feed them. Mrs. Tubman had to be very careful. If she stopped at the wrong place, she would be returned to her owner and punished. The trip was dangerous, but she was determined to be free. When Harriet Tubman made it to Pennsylvania, she stopped and breathed deeply. She was finally free. Free to make her own choices of where to live and work, free to live as she pleased. How wonderful it felt. She found a job working at a hotel where she cooked and cleaned. But instead of having to work for a master, Mrs. Tubman was paid for her work. If she wanted, she could leave that job and find a different one. She was really free. All right, and that's where we'll stop.